Over my 20 years of drumming, I have learned 635 drum fills. 50% of them were useless, 25% of them sounded like total crap, and 9 of them changed my life forever. So we're gonna break these fills down into 3 different sections, starting with easy fills that sound impressive, then we'll get into fills that grow your creativity, and finally I'll show you my favorite fills that give you ultimate freedom on the drum kit. And if you want the playable notation for every fill in this video, click the link in the description below and I'll send it to you completely for free. When I was young, I thought this fill sounded so cool. But as I got older, I had this scary realization. This fill actually sucks. While this fill is very popular, I can't help but notice how elementary it sounds. But over the years, I've created a variation that sounds way cooler and is actually easier to play in my opinion. But before learning the fill, I need to teach you a very important concept that you should memorize. The concept is called a fraction fill, and this starts with a number that you are going to put on top. In this case, let's say it's 2. This number represents how many notes you're going to hit with your hands. So that would be 2 notes on your hands. Then we would put another number on the bottom, and this represents how many notes you would hit with your feet. So let's say it's 2. So a 2/2 fraction fill would mean you played 2 notes on your hands and then 2 notes on your feet. But the amazing thing is we can change this number to anything. We could have it be 3 up top and then 4 on bottom, which means you're gonna hit 3 notes on your hands and then 4 notes on your feet. When you really start messing around with these numbers, you can unlock some incredibly cool fills. And the beautiful part is these fills are typically really easy to play at fast tempos and they sound really powerful. For example, I use them all the time in writing parts with my band I Prevail. But like I said earlier with the 2/2 pattern, if you repeat the same fraction fill over and over again, it starts to sound pretty basic. So I'm a big fan of combining fraction fills, which leads us to our 2/2 plus 4/2 fraction fill pattern. Like the name suggests, you have 2 on the hands, 2 on the feet, and then 4 on the hands, 2 on the feet. And with every fill in this video, I'll show you how it sounds on 1 or 2 playing surfaces, and then you can move this pattern around the kit in a million different ways. So I'm gonna rank each one of these fills so you know which ones to prioritize for yourself. So for this one, I'm gonna rank it as a high on the impressiveness scale and an easy on the difficulty scale, which is a very good rating. Now we're just scratching the surface with this fill. If you really wanna take your fills to the next level, stick around because I'm gonna show you how to play fills like this and like this. But if you want to unlock the full power of fraction fills, you need to learn this first. Now, when it comes to fraction fills, way too many drummers get stuck in those even note ranges, meaning if you combine the top and the bottom number, it equals an even number, like 2/2 and 4/2. These are cool patterns, but if you're always playing even patterns, you run the big risk of repetitive sounding fills. So you need that one little pattern that you can throw in there that can completely add that extra spice to your fills. And when you do this, it can actually make the fills easier and sound way more impressive. And this is playing odd note fraction fills. And for me, one that has stuck for a very long time is simply 2/1. When you add these numbers up, it equals 3, and all you have to do is play 2 notes on the hands and 1 note on the kick. Let me show you how to play it. Now, yes, this pattern sounds cool on its own, but the key is to combine it with one or two existing patterns that you know to add that extra little spice in the middle of your fill. So I'm gonna rank this as low on the impressiveness scale, but the good news is the difficulty of this fill is incredibly easy. Now again, don't worry about writing any of these fills down. I've got all the playable notation, and I'm gonna include my foundational fills pack totally for free. And these foundational fills are my group of fills that you should really master before learning everything in this video. So again, click the link in the description below. I'll send it to you for free. But now that we've mastered easy fills that sound impressive, it's time to learn fills that will blow up your creativity. And all we have to do is take simple concepts that you might already know and make tiny tweaks to them that really crank up the overall creativity. Starting with something that I call the 6-stroke roll plus. Now, when I first learned the 6-stroke roll rudiment, which is right, left, left, right, right, left, it completely changed the way that I saw patterns. It improved my overall dynamics. It helped me learn how to play comfortably in 16th note triplets, and it helped me break into this world of kind of getting these gospel chop sounding fills. But as much as I love this pattern, if you just repeat it over and over on the kit as a fill, it kind of sucks. But all I did to make this fill amazing was add 3 simple notes to the end of it that completely unlocked my overall creativity with this pattern and with my fills in general. So the 6-stroke roll plus is a 6-stroke roll, which again is right, left, left, right, right, left, with that first and last note accented and everything else played as ghost notes. And then all you do is add a right, left, left at the end of it. So now this is a 9-note pattern that sounds really weird and confusing, but trust me, it's actually pretty easy to play and it sounds awesome. So let's try to play it around the kit. I'm gonna rank the 6-stroke roll plus as high on the impressiveness scale and medium on the difficulty scale. And a common theme that you're gonna see in this section is adding just a few extra notes to an already existing pattern. This is by far the easiest way to improve your fill creativity because you don't have to create the entire fill from the ground up. You just have to take patterns you already know and make a small tweak to it that can completely change the way that you play it. And this next pattern is no different. I remember being 19 years old, sitting in my living room, watching Luke Holland videos and having my mind get absolutely blown by some of the drum fills that he was able to pull off. I would start to study exactly what he would play. I would slow the video down to 50% to 25% speed and watch these 3-second clips of insane fills over and over and over again. I just had to know exactly what he was doing to pull off these insane fills. And one trick that I noticed he came back to often was starting a fill off with a rudiment pattern, specifically a paradiddle diddle, which is right, left accented, and then right, right, left, left. But then at the end of his rudiment patterns, sometimes he would throw in a single or even a double kick. It made these fills sound like something I'd never heard before in my life. And that really started to stretch my understanding of how to not only play drum fills, but to create really cool and creative drum fills. Which brings me to our next fill, which I play as 30-second notes, which means in one measure, we're going to be playing 32 notes. And the pattern is a paradiddle diddle, which we just covered. And all we're gonna add to it is a kick kick at the end. So this is a pattern of 8, and you're gonna play this 4 times over the course of one measure. Let's try to play it together. I'm gonna rank the Paradiddle Kick fill as a medium on the impressiveness scale, depending on what speed you can play, and also a medium on the difficulty scale. But this next fill is straight up hard. So hard that I had to lock myself in a room for 2 weeks to figure it out. But I'm really glad that I did, because this fill changed my life and I use it all the time. Now this fill got me through a canceled tour and an entire worldwide pandemic. That's right, when COVID first hit, I was on tour in Europe, and before I knew it, the tour was immediately canceled and I was put on a plane right back to this studio and was ordered to be in quarantine for 2 weeks, which turned into a million weeks. But I took that time to master this pattern in as many ways as I possibly could, and also made an entire video about it right here. And I ended up loving this pattern so much that I incorporated it into my future drum solos on tours afterwards. But after saving me from a canceled tour and a worldwide pandemic and helping me in a drum solo, the biggest thing this fill accomplishes is it makes the paradiddle actually interesting. So this fill starts off with a paradiddle, which is right, left, right, right, and then we flip it. Left, right, left, left. But we're gonna add an interesting change here that I typically don't see. Now, normally that first note is accented and everything else is played as ghost notes. But here we are going to accent the first 2 notes of every paradiddle. Now this simple single accent change completely changes the way the paradiddle sounds to me and makes it sound like a way more powerful, confident pattern. Now after the paradiddles, we are going to play a group of 7, which is right, left, right, left, left, right, left. Now, I know this fill in particular is very wordy with the sticking patterns. So again, if you want the playable notation so you can follow along, link is in the description. So now let's try to work through this fill together. So I'm gonna rank this fill high on the impressiveness scale and medium on the difficulty. But now let's go from being trapped in a room to completely free on the drum kit. Because these next fills are what took me from feeling very rigid and stale on the kit to opening up full freedom to flow around the kit with ease. Now, have you ever learned a pattern that you fell in love with, but then quickly got bored with? Well, that's exactly what happened to me with the pattern right, left, left, kick. This fill pattern really unlocked this new type of feel for me, where you have an accent and then a couple ghost notes and kick all working together. But the problem is, when you just repeat this over and over again, the main accent falls on the downbeat and it just starts to feel a little bit rigid. So, no surprise, what I did was added 2 extra notes to this fill to make it more interesting, and that was simply right, left. So instead of being a repeating pattern of 4, which can often be some of the most boring patterns ever, you now have a pattern of 6 played as 16th notes, which gives you a lot cooler of a feel because the first note of the pattern doesn't always fall on the downbeat. So let's try it out. So I'm gonna rank this fill as medium on the impressive scale, but easy on the difficulty scale. Now we've only got 3 life-changing fills left, and I've saved some of the best for last, starting with this monster. Now there's been one glaring pattern that's been missing from everything we've learned so far that can add some serious style points to your fills. And the best part is it's literally just one note with each hand. I'm talking about the flam. Now the flam is one of the most incredible rudiments to add power to almost anything, but also feel to almost anything. Now, no surprise, I like to add a few extra notes to the end of a flam, and that is a right, left, left. So what you have is a flam, right, left, left. And I like to play that flam between different drums and then come back to the right, left, left on the snare. But that flam is always landing on the downbeat, which is fine for a period of time, but starts to get boring midway through the fill. And that's when I like to add in the secret key ingredient, which is a kick. It's just a kick. Nothing crazy, probably could have guessed it, but it changes this whole fill because it takes it from being a pattern of 4 to an odd pattern of 5. So now let's try to play this fill together. Now I'm actually gonna rank this on the lower side of the impressiveness scale, because if you just bust out this pattern, it's not going to blow people's minds, but it is a perfect complement to combine with another pattern. And in that context, this fill is incredible. And I'm gonna rank this as a medium on the difficulty scale, especially when you move into the pattern of 5, that odd note grouping can start to feel a little bit weird, but with practice, it can really start to lock in and sound amazing. Now, even though this one ranked lower on the impressiveness scale, for these last two, we are going to turn the impressiveness all the way up. For this next fill, we're actually going to recycle a pattern that we've already used, but we're going to play it in 2 different ways. So what we are going to do is we are going to pull out this group of 5 from the quarantine fill, which is right, left, left. We're going to pull it out and we are going to put it right here. Look at that brand new spot. It looks amazing. Now already this is going to sound way different than the quarantine fill because it's a pattern of 5, and in the quarantine fill it was played in the context of a pattern of 7. And what I want to do is play it in 2 different ways. The first way I want to play it is by adding a kick at the end of this pattern. Now this turns it into a group of 6, which sounds like a really cool chop around the kit. But the second way I want to play it is by getting rid of that kick and just sticking with that group of 5. And what I do is add a kick with every right hand. Even though these 2 patterns are the same thing with only 1 note different, they both sound very different from each other. And for that reason, I actually like combining them in different ways because my hands are doing the same thing every single time. I'm just changing what my foot does, and it can unlock a really, really cool pattern. Let me show you what it's all about. So I'm gonna rank both of these patterns as high on the impressiveness scale and hard on the difficulty scale. Playing between a pattern of 6 and a pattern of 5, it can make it easy to get lost, but if you play it at a slow tempo for a long period of time and slowly start building it up, I promise you will get there. And it's even more helpful to have the play along notation to play with, because that way you're able to lock in with what you can hear through the notation. And that's why I'm giving you the tempo adjusted play along notation for every single fill in this video, plus the fill foundational pack totally for free. Just click the link in the description below and I'll send it over. All right, now let's move to one of my favorite fills of all time. All right, for this fill, guess what? We are combining two patterns, both of which you've already learned in this video. At this point, I'm sure you're picking up on the common theme of reusing patterns and combining them with other patterns and how much that can truly unlock. So this fill starts off with a 6-stroke roll. So a reminder, right, left, left, right, right, left, and then a right, left, left kick. Now, yeah, this is pretty strange because this is a pattern of 10, which is why for this fill, I actually like to extend it to a couple measures, because in one measure, you can really only play it 1.5 times. And I think it really starts to feel cool as it's able to be repeated over and over again. So you already know these patterns. We can just dive right in, try to follow along if you can. If not, slow the video down. I promise you'll get it. Now I'm gonna rank this fill as high on the impressiveness scale and high on the difficulty scale, because a pattern of 10 is very uncommon, but not as uncommon as it feels to overcome the biggest progress killers that are holding you back. If you wanna uncover the biggest things killing your progress on the drum set, well then click here and watch this video to find out for yourself.